Most men over 50 have no idea that what's silently destroying their performance, their energy, and their confidence is already happening inside their body right now. Not from a disease, not from aging, from something so simple, so overlooked, that when I tell you what it is, you're going to feel frustrated that nobody explained this sooner. I'm Dr. Natalia Parker, and I've spent over 2 decades working with men on exactly this. And here's what makes this different from everything you've probably heard before. The solution doesn't require a prescription. It doesn't cost hundreds of dollars a month. It doesn't come with a list of terrifying side effects that make you wonder if the cure is worse than the problem. It's sitting in your kitchen right now. But before I get to what it is, and I will, I promise, I need you to understand something first. Because if you don't understand the why, you'll skip the step that makes all the difference. And most men do skip it, and most men keep struggling. So stay with me. Because what I'm about to show you in the next few minutes is something I've watched transform the lives of hundreds of patients, men who had given up, men who told their wives, that part of our life is just over, men who were spending $400 or $500 every single month on pills that worked sometimes, caused headaches the next day, and made their hearts race in ways that scared them. They didn't need those pills. They needed to fix the real problem. And the real problem has a name. It has a mechanism. And once you understand it, you can fix it yourself, starting tonight. Here's where most men go wrong. They think the issue is the organ. They think something broke. But nothing broke. What happened is that the environment inside your body changed. And in that changed environment, your body simply cannot do what it's designed to do. Let me explain this with something you probably remember from high school. Your body has a pH level, a measurement of how acidic or alkaline your internal environment is. The scale goes from 1 to 14. 7 is neutral. Below 7, you're acidic. Above 7, you're alkaline. When you were young, when everything worked the way it was supposed to, your blood pH naturally stayed right around 7.4. That's the sweet spot. That's where your body operates at full capacity. But here's where it gets dangerous. After 50, that number starts to slide, slowly, silently. Most men have no idea it's happening. Your pH can drop to 6.8, even 6.5. And at those levels, 3 very specific things start to go wrong inside your body. 3 things that directly cause the problems most men think are just part of getting older. The first thing that happens is your blood vessels start to stiffen. Think about a garden hose that's been sitting in the sun for years. What happens to it? It stops being flexible. It cracks. Water pressure drops. That's exactly what's happening inside your arteries when your body becomes too acidic. They lose their elasticity. They constrict. The second thing, blood circulation slows down. When your vessels are stiff and narrow, your blood can't move the way it needs to. Flow drops, pressure drops, and the results show up in ways that feel deeply personal. But the third thing, this is the one most doctors never connect to the bigger picture. Your body stops producing nitric oxide. If you've never heard of nitric oxide, here's why it matters more than almost anything else in your body. It's the molecule that signals your blood vessels to relax and expand. It's the molecule that drives blood flow exactly where it needs to go when it needs to go there. Without adequate nitric oxide, the whole system locks up. And here's the part that most men are never told. Nitric oxide cannot be produced efficiently in an acidic internal environment. It's like trying to start a campfire with wet wood. You can have all the right pieces in place, but if the conditions are wrong, nothing ignites. Now here's the part I want you to really hear. This isn't complicated. The solution to an acidic internal environment is to make it less acidic, more alkaline. And one of the most powerful, most accessible alkalizing compounds in existence is something you've probably used 100 times without thinking about it. Baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, the same white powder sitting in the back of your pantry right now. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that sounds too simple, too cheap, too good to be true. I had the same skepticism when I first started looking into this, but I've now watched this work on patient after patient, men who came into my practice completely resigned to a diminished life and left 3 weeks later describing changes that their wives confirmed. Let me tell you about one of them. His name was Robert. He was 62 when he first came to see me, He'd been dealing with performance issues for almost 5 years. He'd tried everything: the blue pills, the orange pills, the supplements that promised miracles online. Some of them worked occasionally. Most of them came with headaches that lasted 2 days, sinus congestion that made him feel like he was sick, stomach problems, and a racing heart that honestly frightened him. Robert sat across from me and said, "Doc, I'm done. My wife is patient, but I feel like half the man I used to be. I feel like something important inside me just shut off." The first thing I did was test his urinary pH with a simple reactive strip, the kind you can buy at any pharmacy for a few dollars. His reading was 6.5. That's not slightly acidic. That's deeply acidic. That's a body that has been running in the wrong environment for a long time. I explained what I'm explaining to you right now, and then I gave him a simple protocol involving baking soda. Nothing complicated, nothing expensive. 4 days later, 4 days, Robert called me at 7 in the morning. He said, "Doctor, I need to tell you something. This morning I woke up with something I haven't experienced in over 4 years. I don't understand how this is possible. Is it really the baking soda?" I told him yes, it was completely possible, because we hadn't done anything magical. We had simply changed his body's internal environment. We had made it possible for nitric oxide to do its job again. 2 weeks after that, Robert came back to my office. He was smiling before he even sat down. He told me his mornings had changed completely, that his relationship with his wife had returned to something they thought was gone forever. No pills, no side effects, just a body that was finally operating in the right conditions. I've seen this play out more times than I can count, but I want to make something very clear. Baking soda is not magic, it's chemistry. It works because it directly addresses the underlying problem instead of masking the symptoms. When you take baking soda in the right amount at the right time, it moves into your bloodstream and acts as what's called a buffering agent. It neutralizes excess acid. It brings your pH back toward that 7.4 sweet spot. As your pH rises toward neutral, your blood vessels begin to relax. The stiffness eases, circulation improves, and nitric oxide production, which your body has been trying to perform in hostile conditions, starts to work again. It's not forcing anything, it's restoring the environment so your body can do what it was always designed to do. And the effects extend far beyond what most men first expect. Because when your body's pH is balanced, it affects everything. Inflammation drops, tissue repair improves, kidney filtration becomes more efficient, energy levels stabilize. Some men report that joint pain they'd carried for years disappears, that their breathing feels clearer, that their skin looks better, that their hair feels stronger, all because the environment changed. Comment below and tell me what state you're watching from. I see men all across the country dealing with exactly this, and I want to know where you're coming from. Now, let me tell you about another patient, because this one surprised even me. His name was Dennis. He was 71 years old, active, he still worked, he exercised regularly. By any outward measure, he was doing everything right. But he'd lost function years earlier and had completely accepted it as the price of getting older. He said to me, "Doctor, I'm 71. I figured this is just how it goes." I told him, "Age is a number. Your body doesn't have to follow a script. What it needs is the right conditions." Dennis had a bathtub at home. So for him, instead of only the internal protocol, I recommended something additional: baking soda soaks. Fill the bathtub with warm water, add a full cup of baking soda. Soak for 20 minutes 3 times a week. The skin is remarkably absorbent. Baking soda dissolved in bath water can be taken in transdermally, contributing to systemic alkalization. It's slower than the internal method, but it adds a significant layer. Dennis followed this consistently for 3 weeks. He called me on a Tuesday afternoon, and I could hear it in his voice immediately. Not only had his function returned in ways he'd stopped expecting, but he reported something else. His urinary flow, which had been sluggish and interrupted, had improved dramatically. He was sleeping better. He had energy in the afternoon that he hadn't felt in years. He said, "I feel like I went back 10 years in 3 weeks." The prostate connection here is not accidental. Chronic low-grade inflammation of the prostate is directly linked to acidic internal conditions. Baking soda reduces that inflammation as part of its broader alkalizing effect. Men who struggle with hesitancy, weak flow, or nighttime trips to the bathroom often see improvement alongside the primary effects. Now, let's talk about exactly how to do this, because the dosage matters, the timing matters, and getting this wrong is the difference between real results and problems. The morning dose is your first priority. Before you eat anything, before coffee, before water even, first thing in the morning, you're going to take 1/4 teaspoon, and I mean exactly that, not more, and mix it into a glass of warm water. Stir it completely. Drink it slowly. Then wait 30 minutes before eating anything. Why first thing in the morning? Because your stomach is empty. The baking soda enters your system without competing with food for absorption. It begins alkalization on an empty slate. A word of warning here, do not add lemon. I know you've probably seen that combination recommended in various places. Here's the problem, lemon juice is highly acidic. When you mix baking soda with an acid, you get a neutralization reaction. The baking soda is used up reacting with the lemon before it ever gets to do its job in your body. Plain warm water only. The evening dose is, if anything, more important than the morning dose. Take it at least 2 hours after dinner, before bed, same measurement, 1/4 teaspoon in half a glass of warm water. Here's why the timing is critical. Nighttime is when your body does its deepest repair work. Testosterone production, tissue regeneration, neural restoration. Every one of these processes functions better in an alkaline environment. When you go to sleep with your body alkaline, you are literally giving your repair systems the optimal conditions to do their work. Think of it as setting the stage. Your body knows how to perform. You just have to make sure the environment is right when it matters most. Now, here's the part most men ignore, and then wonder why they're not getting results. The total daily limit is half a teaspoon. That's it. 1/4 in the morning, 1/4 at night. This is not a situation where more is better. If you exceed this, you will over-alkalinize your stomach, which disrupts digestion, can cause nausea, and puts unnecessary strain on your kidneys. The baking soda contains sodium, and excess sodium accumulation is a real concern. I had a patient, I'll call him Carl, who was 67 and decided that since the 1/4 teaspoon worked, a half teaspoon twice a day would work twice as fast. He tripled the dose. A week later, he called me with stomach cramps and nausea that had been going on for days. When he told me what he'd been doing, I had him drop back to the correct dose immediately. 3 days later, the discomfort was gone, and within a week after that, he started seeing the results he'd wanted. Your body is not a machine that responds linearly to increased input. It's a system that needs balance. Respect the dose. Now, baking soda alone will produce results. But if you combine it with a few simple habits, the results multiply significantly. The first habit is water intake, 8 glasses a day minimum. Baking soda increases your body's sodium load slightly, and adequate hydration is essential for your kidneys to process this efficiently. Water also directly supports circulation, which is, of course, the whole point. The second habit is potassium-rich foods. Sodium and potassium exist in a dynamic balance in your body. When you add sodium through the baking soda, you want to counterbalance with potassium. Bananas, avocados, spinach, almonds, black beans. Get these into your daily eating. The third habit, and this one is the lever most men never pull, is cutting the foods that acidify you. White sugar, refined flour, processed meats, alcohol, carbonated soft drinks. Every one of these pushes your pH in the wrong direction and cancels out the work the baking soda is doing. Imagine filling a bathtub with the drain wide open. That's what eating acidifying foods while taking baking soda looks like. You're working against yourself. You're never reaching the threshold where real change happens. The fourth habit, dark green vegetables. Spinach, broccoli, asparagus, kale, cucumber. These are naturally alkaline. They work synergistically with the baking soda. Try to make half your plate green vegetables at every meal. Every meal. Now, before I tell you about the timeline, what to expect and when, I want to address something important because the medical guide I've put together covers this in much more detail than I can cover here. The guide is called the Medical Guide to Avoiding the Mistakes That Damage Men's Health After 60. It's pinned in the first comment below this video. It's free. I put it together because I kept seeing the same men making the same avoidable mistakes. Mistakes that were silently undermining everything else they were doing right. If you're serious about implementing this protocol correctly, that guide is your roadmap. Go check the pinned comment right after this video. The link is right there. Now, what can you actually expect? And when? This is important because men give up too early. They don't know what the timeline looks like, so they don't recognize the early signs of progress. Day 1. You probably won't notice dramatic changes. Some men report slightly more mental clarity, a bit more energy in the afternoon. It's subtle. Don't look for fireworks yet. By day 3, and I want to be clear that this is what I hear from patient after patient, not a promise, many men notice the return of morning response. That natural morning physiological response that used to happen automatically when you were younger and slowly faded. It comes back. It's the first signal that your body is responding. That nitric oxide production is waking up. That circulation is improving. During the first week, spontaneous response during the day becomes more common. Without prompting, without planning. Your body is simply functioning again the way it was designed to. In the second week, most men report full function return. Firmness, duration, no anxiety, no performance pressure. The system is working. By the end of the first month, you've reached what I call steady state. Your pH is stabilized. Your body has adapted. Everything functions the way it did 20 years ago. Now, important warnings before you begin, because this protocol is not appropriate without modification for everyone. If you take blood pressure medication, proceed carefully. Sodium can elevate blood pressure in some individuals. Not all, but some. Start with an even smaller dose, 1/8 of a teaspoon twice daily, and monitor your pressure daily for the first 2 weeks. If it goes up, reduce the dose or stop. If it remains stable, continue to the standard dose. If you have kidney disease, this is critical. Your kidneys are the organs that process baking soda and regulate pH balance. If they're compromised, you need direct medical supervision before starting this. Please consult your doctor first. If you're on stomach medications, antacids, proton pump inhibitors, H2 blockers, separate the baking soda from those medications by at least 3 hours. Taking them together cancels the effects of both. And never take baking soda with a meal. With food in your stomach, it disrupts the stomach acid your digestion needs. Morning dose on empty stomach. Night dose at least 2 hours after dinner. Now I want to share something that a retired physician, one of my patients, told me after 3 months on this protocol. He said, "Dr. Parker, I spent 40 years practicing medicine. I prescribed everything you can imagine, and I came to you skeptical that a 50-cent pantry ingredient was going to do anything. What I didn't expect was what happened to the rest of my body." He wasn't just describing the primary changes, he was describing a body-wide shift. The knee pain he'd managed with anti-inflammatories for 6 years had mostly resolved. His breathing felt more open, like his lungs had more room, his skin had cleared, his hair felt stronger. He said, "I feel like the inflammation just turned down across my whole body." That's exactly what's happening. When you correct your pH, inflammation drops systemically. Cellular function improves everywhere. It's not targeted to one area, it's environmental. The whole body operates better when the environment is right. Now let me give you the complete protocol all in one place so you can start tonight. Wake up. Before anything else, drink a glass of warm water, plain water only. This wakes your digestive system and prepares your stomach lining for the day. Give it about 20 minutes. Then take your first baking soda dose. 1/4 teaspoon, warm water, stirred thoroughly. Drink it slowly. Wait 30 minutes before eating. Breakfast should lean alkaline. Avocado, eggs with spinach, a handful of almonds, a green smoothie if you're up for it. No white bread, no sugary cereal, no orange juice. It's highly acidic. Mid-morning, go for a walk. 20 to 30 minutes. Nothing intense required. Exercise directly enhances nitric oxide production and improves circulation. It amplifies everything the baking soda is doing. These aren't separate strategies. They're working toward the same mechanism. Lunch, half your plate is vegetables. 1/4 is lean protein, chicken, fish, beans. A quarter is a quality carbohydrate like brown rice or sweet potato. No processed sauces, no deli meat. Keep it clean. Afternoon, water. This is the window when most men unknowingly become dehydrated. Stay ahead of it. Dinner, lighter than lunch, more vegetables, less starchy carbs. Stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. Your body is not a storage facility, it's a processor. Give it time to finish processing before you ask it to shift into repair mode. 2 hours after dinner, take your second baking soda dose. Same measurement, 1/4 teaspoon in half a glass of warm water. Before bed, consider adding magnesium, 200 to 300 milligrams. Magnesium works in direct synergy with baking soda. It helps your body maintain pH stability overnight, relaxes vascular smooth muscle, and dramatically improves sleep quality. All three of those things matter for what we're trying to accomplish. Magnesium glycinate absorbs well and is gentle on the stomach. Now, there are a few additional combinations that some of my patients have found particularly effective. The first is baking soda with apple cider vinegar. I know that sounds like mixing opposites, but here's what actually happens. When you combine them in water, they react and neutralize into a compound that supports both alkalinity and digestive enzyme activity. 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda plus 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water. Wait for the fizzing to settle completely before drinking. One patient who started doing this daily lost 15 pounds of abdominal fat over 8 weeks and normalized his blood pressure without medication changes. The second combination is baking soda with turmeric. Turmeric is one of the most well-studied anti-inflammatory compounds in existence. Chronic inflammation constricts blood vessels and directly opposes the environment you're trying to create. Mix 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda with 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric in warm water. The dual effect, alkalizing and anti-inflammatory, is meaningful. The third is baking soda with green tea. Green tea contains catechins, which are potent antioxidants that directly support nitric oxide synthesis. Brew your green tea, let it cool slightly, then stir in your baking soda dose. The combination is more powerful than either alone. Now let me address the questions I get asked most often, because I know some of you watching this have specific health situations, and I want to speak directly to those. If you have diabetes, baking soda can be beneficial because diabetics often present with chronically acidic internal environments. However, and this is important, baking soda can influence how your body processes glucose. Monitor your blood sugar closely, particularly in the first 2 weeks, and keep your doctor informed. If you have gout, this is actually one of the clearest use cases for baking soda. Gout is caused by uric acid accumulation, and baking soda directly alkalinizes the system in a way that reduces uric acid in solution. Many physicians already recommend it for gout management, though dose guidance from your doctor is important. If you have an active stomach ulcer, wait. Baking soda is helpful for controlled gastritis because it neutralizes excess acid, but an actively bleeding ulcer is a different situation. The irritation risk is real. Get that under control first with proper medical care, then revisit this. If you have kidney stones, it depends on the type. Uric acid stones respond well. Baking soda helps prevent their formation. Calcium oxalate stones are a different story. Talk to your urologist before starting. If you're currently using prescription ED medication, you don't have to stop cold. In fact, many of my patients start the baking soda protocol while continuing their medication, then gradually reduce the medication dose as their function naturally improves. The key word is gradually. Work with your doctor on any tapering. Never stop prescription medication abruptly. How do you measure your progress objectively? Buy pH test strips. You can find them at any pharmacy or online for a few dollars. First thing in the morning, before drinking anything, use the strip to test your urine pH. The optimal range is 7.0 to 7.5. Below 6.5 means you're still too acidic. Continue the protocol. Above 8.0 means you've overcorrected. Reduce your baking soda dose slightly. Your goal is the range in between, your body's natural operating zone. This is not about making your body as alkaline as possible. It's about bringing it back to where it belongs. What type of baking soda should you buy? Food-grade sodium bicarbonate. That's it. Find it in the baking aisle of any grocery store. Do not buy industrial grade or cleaning grade baking soda. Those can contain processing impurities. The store brand in the baking aisle is exactly what you need, and it costs almost nothing. How long do you take it? As long as you want the benefits. This isn't a short course, it's an environmental correction. Some of my patients have been on this protocol for years. If you stop, your pH will gradually drift acidic again over time, and the symptoms will return. For most men, this becomes part of their morning and evening routine the same way brushing their teeth is. One more thing I want to address directly because I hear it almost every time. Doctor, this sounds too easy, too cheap. If it worked, everyone would know about it. Here's the honest answer. It doesn't make anyone money. There's no patent on sodium bicarbonate. There's no pharmaceutical company funding studies on a compound that costs 40 cents per month. The incentive structure that drives most of what you see advertised about men's health doesn't exist here. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. That means it doesn't have a marketing budget. I've watched this work in patients who had completely given up. I've watched men in their 70s and 80s experience results they'd been told were impossible at their age. I've watched years of resignation and frustration dissolve in 2 weeks when the underlying environment was finally corrected. I can't promise this will work for every single man watching this. Individual health situations vary, but I can tell you that for the overwhelming majority of men who follow this protocol consistently, exactly as I've described, the changes come, often faster than they expect. Start tonight. The evening dose first. 1/4 teaspoon in half a glass of warm water, at least 2 hours after dinner. Tomorrow morning, the morning dose on an empty stomach. On day 3, pay attention to what happens when you wake up. By the end of the first week, you'll know it's working, and 1 month from now, you'll be the man who calls me and says exactly what I've heard hundreds of times. I wish someone had told me this 20 years ago. Your body is not broken. It's not worn out. It's not finished. It's operating in the wrong environment. And that environment is something you can change, starting now, with something in your kitchen. If this video helped you understand something you didn't know before, subscribe. Because on this channel, I explain the things that often get lost between what medicine knows and what most patients are ever actually told. You deserve that information, and you'll find it here. Take care of yourself. Your body is still capable of more than you think.